Greetings. Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Thank you for coming on through. I know it's a late live, especially for moi, but it is what it is. And yet here I am. I appreciate y'all. I know my camera. Listen, I'm trying some new stuff. My camera's like this way, but my monitors are, so I'm going to be all over the place. So just kind of don't look at me as bipolar, but you know what I'm saying? Just kind of like roll with it because my content and my message is going to be what it is. So if y'all can put a one in the chat, I am hoping that. Listen, my computer been acting right all day. I've been doing tests. I've been doing all kind of trial runs, and now that I hit the live button, it looked like it want to start acting up. Okay, thank you, sis. Listen. You better not. You better not. Look, when I was on Laverne's live, it was perfect. So I wanted to emulate and to mimic exactly what I went through on her live with no hiccups and no blemishes and no issues. Shalom and peace to the chat, to the people in the bushes and thereof, right? So I appreciate y'all for coming through. Look, listen. So y'all know I like to, well, the people that know that I like to talk about relationships. I like to kind of, get into the nitty gritty because I am pro core family. I am pro nuclear family. And sometimes we got to dig down into the dirt and get to the uncomfortable truths and to the uncomfortable discussions in order to break through and get some healing, right? And to get some clarity on where can we go from here in order to bring back our family unit, right? And I'm talking on a collective scale, not definitely not speaking of an individual scale, speaking on us as a collective unit. So, peace and blessings to my mods, my chat. We got DT in the building, always with the little eyes and the side eye. Appreciate you sliding through, always, usually the first one. So, salute and peace and blessings to you for that. We got Northern born, Southern raised. I like that. I absolutely like that. It speaks volumes and tells me a lot. So peace and blessings to you. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate your presence. We got my sis Laverne in the building. We got my Salaya Ben Ya in the building. Always good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And for those that are in the bushes, appreciate you. So listen, there was as I was kind of scrolling through social media, as I tried to sparingly do, but as a content creator, it's like a necessary part of the job, right? There was a gentleman that caught my attention. I used to see him on Facebook. I don't subscribe to him. I can't even really remember, unfortunately, his name, but it may resonate, and he may resonate with some of you once I show the video. But I thought that this parody that he did was super powerful, right? So listen, we're going, without further ado, let's go ahead and get off into it.
Come back after ghosting you.
Because I can.
Yikes.
And what the you gonna do about it? Hey, listen, the reason I came back is because I knew I could when I left. You think I didn't notice that you didn't have a backbone while we were in this relationship? You think I didn't notice your lack of boundaries and you said this and you gave me ultimatums and you walked it back and walked it back and walked it back and walked it back? I treated you this way when we was together. I went ghost in this relationship with you. When my emotions was ghost, when my presence was ghost. So now when I want to take a break just to see what the is out there, I only did that because I knew I could come back. I know we talking about this man going ghost, but first let's talk about you going ghost on your boundaries. You going ghost on what
Luke, okay, no, I was trying to let him finish. but he asked a very, very pertinent question. And actually, I think that that's going to be worth going back and replaying it from the beginning. It's a very small clip, but yet and still full of power and full of message and full of gems, right? He said, but first, let's talk about you going ghost on your boundaries. Now, I did put a poll in the chat. It is an anonymous poll. I'm going to be transparent and say that I actually went through a very long-term relationship with not acknowledging my boundaries at a younger age. I'm not the same person with the same boundaries, with the same mindset, the same state of spirit, and the same self-worth. I am not that person, but there was a time where I actually went through a relationship where I accepted the unacceptable for an extended period of time. And I knew that it was unacceptable behavior at that time. And I became resentful. I became bitter. I became rebellious in the relationship. There was a lot of different components that took place, but when I was done, I was done. Okay, and I never have looked back since. I have never accepted less than I feel I deserve, and that's it. That's it in a nutshell. It's about the boundaries. It is about, and men don't take this the wrong way, I'm speaking to everyone, but I am gearing the conversation, the accountability to my sisters and to my women at this point. I don't expect transparency with me. I just want it to be transparency with thyself. And that can be a very uncomfortable situation, a very uncomfortable position, and a very uncomfortable time to accept accountability, to say as women that there are times where men are finessing us because they can, and no other reason. They can. And so if they can, then they will when it's all said and done, right? So because he knows he can at the end of the day. Men come back because we let them. And I'm saying this on a collective level. There are many women out there that have never accepted unacceptable behavior. It's been a one and done rule. That's all great. It's gravy. Kudos to you. I personally have not had that experience in my younger years. Hindsight is always 2020. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't do it. Not by a long shot. My tolerance at this point in my life and my level of my threshold is, you can't even see between those two fingers. If you ain't coming and right, wrong, and different, whether you give men, you should be giving men some grace. There are certain areas of grace that I will give them, and there are certain characteristics that I'm not going to compromise on, and that varies between woman to woman and man to man and relationship to relationship. So this is definitely not a one size fits all, but this is a brother that's telling you, look, he is speaking from a man's perspective. He is speaking from his perspective. He is speaking from what he knows, whether he has done it or whether he can relate to it or not. Right. And I'm not, this is not something that I am bashing men on. This is not what that is. Right. This is an enlightenment experience. This is something that's saying, okay, we both as men and women can take accountability on both ends for the part that we play in the unsuccessful rate of long-term relationships. Right. So there's nothing wrong with working it out. There's nothing wrong with giving your man or your woman grace There's nothing wrong with that. But if it is a repetitive cycle and you're not getting different results, then what are we doing? What are we doing here? Right? So I'm gonna rewind this because he talked kind of fast, but he said a mouthful, and we're gonna go from there.
Come back after ghosting you.
Because I can.
Yikes.
And what the you gonna do about it?
Yikes.
Hey, listen, the reason I came back is because I knew I could when I left. You think I didn't notice that you didn't have a backbone while we were in this relationship? You think I didn't notice your lack of boundaries and you said this and you gave me ultimatums and you walked it back and walked it back and walked it back and walked it back? I treated you this way when we was together. I went ghost in this relationship with you. When my emotions was ghost, when my presence was ghost. So now when I want to take a break just to see what the is out there, I only did that because I knew I could come back. I know we talking about this man going ghost, but first let's talk about you going ghost on your boundaries. You going ghost on what you know you deserve. You going ghost on your self-worth. These are the things we need to talk about, because some of y'all swear y'all hate ghosts, but you got a closet full of them. That pain and that trauma you ain't addressed. Those negative relationships that still show up in the relationship.
Why do
Listen. Okay, so this is not a popular topic, but I'm going to make it a relevant topic, right? Let's talk about women, the ghosts and the trauma and all of the things that are attached to that's in our closet that allows us to tolerate intolerable behavior and to allow those to walk over our boundaries that we've set, and without or with minimal or little consequence to none, right? When you have a man that does not give you emotional consistency, or you're not giving him emotional fervitude, then there becomes an imbalance, right? So when we walk around and we don't stand on our 10 as women, when we don't fortify and by our behavior, by our expectations, by our characteristics, by our lifestyle, to say, instead of vocally and verbalizing to this person, okay, well, this is what I will and won't tolerate, they're going to look at behavior, as we all do. Okay, so as women, we have to learn the differences between emotional inconsistency. Do we understand, or do we be patient, or do we enforce what we will and will not tolerate at the end of the day? That's a person-on-person decision to make. One size does not fit all in relationships. There are many dynamics to consider, right? But when a man understands that he is the prize in your eyes, we go off of behavior, we go off of energy, we go off of past experience. When you are in an intimate relationship, you get to learn what people's traumas, what their triggers are. Guess what? That can be used in your favor or against you in the form of a relationship. So when it comes down to it, when you say something, it cannot contradict your actions and your behavior. It has to be enforced thereof, in my opinion, right? Now, when I was in a relationship and I tolerated that type of behavior, it was based off of fear and of lack of self-worth. It took a long time for me to be single, to be isolated, to be celibate, and to be willing to heal from the inside out alone. That's a scary place for a lot of people. When you are traveling through a world and a culture that promotes and emphasizes that you are an incomplete person that you are not whole, that you cannot be healed or serve your purpose alone. You're not alone. You're with a God that you serve, a power that is higher than yourself. Not saying that the right man and the right fit can't enhance your life and bring wholeness, but nobody's going to bring wholeness to you like you and God. They say that, okay, there's a popular saying that 50-50 makes 100. So women bring 50%, men bring 50%. That makes everybody whole, makes 100%. I dispute that. I want to bring 100% to my relationships. Therefore, if I'm 100%, then I can expect 100%. Now, this is not being literal, but what I'm saying is that if I believe that I'm a healed person with flaws and imperfections that can be compromised, worked out, and communicated with my partner, then I can give the grace to that partner for the same expectation that is expected upon me, if that makes any sense. Right? So, what I'm saying is that it's okay to take some time in order to heal, to find out what your past traumas are, what you were born into involuntarily, what you've had to deal with, recognizing your flaws, recognizing your imperfections, recognizing your incompletion or your self-value that is not up to par where you would like it to be, or where you're comfortable coming into a relationship with having the expectation that the man or the woman that I want in this relationship to balance out so it can thrive, so it can evolve, so it can ascend, so it can develop into what the purpose of it was intended to be. What makes me less of a woman for me or for anybody connected to me, whether it's my children, whether it's my friends, my tribe, my past significant others that maybe we have remained friends? Why would I shortchange myself to go into a relationship as a whole person? Sometimes it takes me a while to get to my my meat and potatoes, but I know where I'm going because my journey in life has not been uncomplicated. It's been very detailed. It's been very convoluted at times. There have been times where I questioned what the hell was going on. Why am I still single? I know what I deserve, but I know what I won't accept any longer. I know what I won't tolerate. And if I lead in respect, God damn it, I am going to expect it in return, not an ounce less. And that can be in any relationship. That can be in a relationship with a significant other. It can be in a relationship with a child. It can be in a relationship with a coworker. Because your core value system is going to manifest itself and show itself in every relationship of any dynamic that you presented in. Right? Listen, come on now. Miss Kimar says, I wasted a lot of time and energy on the wrong people before before God brought my husband to my life. Amen. Amen. And that's the key, or one of the keys to the union that God has brought together, is that he's first. Because we can't recognize, acknowledge, take accountability, and correct those things in us without God's Spirit guiding us. That is my personal opinion. And it is a blessing, Kimar, because there are many people that seek it and yet shall never find it in this lifetime. I rebuke the devil because I've done and am doing the work, right? And I'm facing the uncomfortable truths and have been for some time now. And that's not an easy task to do. It's just not. We as women have to be vocal through our voices and our behavior as to what our standards are. Okay? We have to communicate those standards and stand firm in them. They sound good when they come forth as words, especially when it's backed up with passion and with what we believe is going to be that based off of how we deliver it. But at the end of the day, men or women in relationships are going to watch behavior. And that is what is really going on at the end of the day. And that's what this brother in this parody was really saying. And to me, he said it loud and clear. He said it. He was role playing, but he was really not, because he's a man and he knows how a man thinks. And he's screaming from the mountaintops, look, you set the stage by what you tolerate, whether it's from a respectful place to a disrespectful place. However you look at it, the ball is in your court as to what you will tolerate or won't, right? There's another factor. And I will say this from a female or woman's perspective, as well as this could be applicable to a man. And I feel like a lot of times growth is stunted. It is stunted because there are no consequences, because there is no accountability. If there is no accountability and your growth is stunted, then you have no reason to change. You have no motivation to change. If a woman is expecting you back or accepts you back without consequence, without any pain and suffering, without any recompense, then what motivation would there be for you to change the behavior when the same opportunity that presented itself last time presents itself again? Guess what? It's not going to be a deterrent. It is going to be an invitation. Guess what? This is what I got away with before, and I don't see it changing. So either she gonna, and I can read her, so either she gonna set me back or she ain't. But I'm gonna put my dollar on the blackjack table that she will accept me back, because she's done it before, and I didn't have to feel no pain in order to go back. I didn't have to accept any accountability to go back. I didn't have to do any recompensing to go back. Maturity, reflection. There are a lot of men that come back, they don't even feel like they owe you an explanation. Why? Because you don't require one. You come off as desperate. You come off as, I love you. You the prize in my eyes. Even though 99.999% of the other women population would look at you like you was crazy and call you all kind of 4-word expletives. The point of the matter being is that they're not coming from you. And I know what I'm going to get with you. I know what level of comfort I'm going to get from you. I understand that there's going to be minimal consequences from you, but I'm going to reap all the benefits because I know I'm going to have a hot cooked meal. When I come home from a hard day's work, I'm not going to have to do nothing but what I want to do. When I leave the house, I don't have to be held accountable for where I go. When I'm coming back and leading in respect, that's on us. That's on you. That was on me. And guess what? At this point in my life, you're going to have to come correct from the gate. Whether people feel my expectations are too high and too unreasonable, it is for me to reap the outcome from, good or bad. But I am unshakable at this point, because if you do the same things you've always done, you can expect the same results you've always gotten. Now, I know what it's like on that other side. Now I'm going to listen. I'm willing to pay the piper. I'm willing to make the sacrifice, and I'm willing to do the work and wait in patience for the other side that I haven't experienced yet. I know what I'm worth at this point. I know my self-worth. I don't care what you bring to the table. If you're not leading with respect, consistency, and reciprocity, we can't even get to second base, first or second, depending on what your first base look like. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Miss Kimar, for the blessing. Yes, you are a blessing. You are very consistent, and you are a consistent supporter, and a day one too. And I truly, truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. When you know better, you do better. That's right. Absolutely. Listen, I'm not going to beat a dead horse with a stick. We're not going to draw this out. I'm not going to get to the point where I'm offending one or the other. It is what it is. It is pretty cut and dry at this point. When a man violates, he usually has weighed out the consequences or the possible consequences of his violation before he violates. Women, we have to take accountability. We have to understand that we are responsible for what we accept and what we don't. We can't control what anybody does outside of us. But what we can do is understand what we will tolerate and what we won't tolerate, and what our boundaries are. And in order to be able to even do that, we're going to have to understand our self-worth. We're going to have to understand our value. We're going to have to understand what we will and what we won't tolerate at the end of the day. I think that a big part, too, when it comes to men ghosting us and being able to come back. And I speak from a collective perspective, not an individual perspective. And I spoke on this earlier, but I want to elaborate a little bit. Men go through a lot of trauma too. We have a lot of young men that are being raised in single family households where they're not having a male present in the home to teach them appropriate responses, to even teach them what is male sufficient and what is not. And when we have our young boys and our young men being raised by primarily, again, collectively, I'm speaking from a majority standpoint. When you have a majority of our young men being raised by single moms, it's confusing. Most of it is not intentional. Even if they've been hurt, it still is not intentional when they get into relationships and they don't have the proper guidance or the proper barometer to be able to gauge how to appropriately respond to a bunch of females that have also lacked the male upbringing and the male primary influence in their households. So we're dealing with a huge imbalance. And it's hard to give grace when everybody feels like they are the ones that are being inside and in the midst of their own trauma. What do we do? What do we do? How do we move forward? How do we heal? How do we build? And how do we procreate with a healthy standard instead of continuing the cycle of dysfunction? That's a big question. One I really don't have all of the answers for, but what I can say is that we all deal with trauma. All of us. Whether you have a penis or a vagina, we have our own sets of trauma based off of our foundational or lack thereof foundational principles. And I absolutely agree. You keep having healthy conversations, but sis, I want to promote the question because it's a relevant question that many of us or many people have not experienced, is what is defined as healthy? Because you don't know what you don't know. If you've been raised in dysfunction, if you've been raised in chaos, if you've been raised in things that are anything but healthy, then how can you identify enough to correct to make it healthy before you start passing on and continue to pass on that generational information of having healthy conversations? Because you know what you know, you don't know what you don't know, but a lot of people, based on their upbringing, if they are taught a certain lifestyle, they're taught a certain if they are taught certain foundational principles, right, wrong, work or don't work, productive or unproductive, then how do we turn that around? Anything that don't affect your peaceful being. How many people don't even know what peace is, but they say they do? You can't promote something you don't know what the true meaning is. How many I can speak for me. In my early 20s, I had a relationship that I thought was going to end in marriage. It was probably one of the most dysfunctional relationships. I've only had a few. So anything that I go through with my relationships on a negative connotation is going to be a doozy. But that was what I had to work off of until I knew better, therefore I could do better. But that has taken me a lifetime. I'm being extremely transparent here. Right? Mr. Oates says you're going to be dysfunctional if you were raised in dysfunction. When you have the Medias, when you have the forefathers, the ancestors, the ones that are breathing, living with blood going through their veins, being the example, and they are passing on the dysfunction. Let me just say this. And I know I'm going to strike a nerve with some folk when I say this. But a couple of days ago, I saw somebody in Kwame's chat say, and I'm paraphrasing, but the message stuck the same. They were talking about the ancestors and the forefathers and how we don't have the Medias, we don't have the older people setting the examples, dropping the gems, and passing along accurate knowledge, information, and so on and so forth. And someone said a lot of the Medias or a lot of the forefathers have covered up, they're passed along. And the reason why we are where we are is because a lot of the forefathers covered up a lot of dysfunction. They covered up a lot of transgressions. They were the ones that kept everything under the cover to make everything look copacetic. And when they passed on, then the ugly truths started to surface and reveal themselves. And that really kind of resonated with me, speaking of my own family and many other families around me, whether people telling the truth or they don't tell the truth. The fact of the matter is that there has been so much dysfunction and so much misinformation that has been passed along that the good information and the good spiritual guidance that has been given from the Medias and from the ancestors and from the forefathers has been overshadowed because the sickness has overpowered the good when it comes to us as a collective. Where do we get to a point where we've owned enough of the dysfunction and start the healing process? When you know better, you do better. But when you are presented with better, what do you do with it? What do you do with it? Do we keep harping on things that don't no longer serve us? We are in 2025. Sis, I'm going to drop the link for Miss Show Thoughts, because that's my Laverne. I'm her Shirley, and that's for a reason. She always gives me balance when I feel like there's a severe imbalance. She has definitely has the download of a lot of ancestors in her path that lives well within inside of her. A lot of us out here are broken. A lot of us out here are traumatized. A lot of us out here are self-medicating. A lot of us out here are in denial about our current situation and the parts we play in on it. Okay, I appreciate you. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I'm reading your messages and I'm like, okay, I'm asking legitimate questions. When I say I'm being transparent, that's what I mean. I don't have all the answers. I don't care how old I am and what I've been through. I ain't supposed to, and I don't want that kind of pressure. What I am saying is that whatever it looks like at the end of the day, we got to start healing our families. We have to start healing from the inside out, because I don't care what kind of reparations we get, kind of blessings we get, kind of opportunities, what the stock market looks like, what the real estate market looks like. I don't give a shit about none of that if we stay and remain separate, divided, and at odds with one another. Because there's not one other race out here that has power, self-sustenance, and self-reliance that doesn't put family first at a sacrifice. When do we start sacrificing again? When do we feel comfortable enough to say that this is for the greater good? That this is for when we no longer have breath in our bodies. The children and the grandchildren that we have bore can reap the benefits of the work that we have done, like our ancestors and our forefathers. We can sit back and we can talk about, and we can regurgitate all of this BS that don't mean a hill of beans. But at the end of the day, again, I'm in my mid-50s. I got more life behind me, typically, than ahead of me. But one thing that I have absolutely tried to reconcile with is that when it's my time to go, I go in peace. Hey, Laverne. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Shirley.
Oh, baby.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Listen, I was listening and everything. It's a good thing I ain't break that down. Because you know me. You, you know I'll break it down in a heartbeat. But
Me too. Me too. It's past my
yeah.
bedtime. But look, we here for a greater cause. And I want to hear what you got to say on the topic, because I'm feeling some type of way.
But Mr. Kim, it's such a broad topic because you've discussed quite a few things. Okay,
Mm.
but so is it a specific question you have for me, or you just want me to just generalize what's going on, what I've been hearing?
Well, you're right.
Because
I
you know
did
what I
kind
mean?
of go all over the place, but the original topic geared towards, okay, so let me just say this. Where I'm at right now and
Hmm.
where my default always is how do we, no matter what it looks like, how do we get back to family nuclear values?
I think we just have to stop lying to each other. Most relationships, people are not being honest with one another. They start
Mhm.
off the relationship by lying. Just like how they, when they go on dates, they are being superficial. Instead of just telling straight out, telling the person what you're looking for and what you expect in a relationship. You know,
Mhm.
we keep, I mean, it's nothing better than to be straightforward. Just like if you're going for a job, you have a job interview, you want to know the job description. Having a relationship is a partnership. It's a lifetime partnership, supposed to be to raise family. And being honest is very important. So I would say open communication, being more real with one another, telling the truth, right? That's one way to do it, you know? And when it was something, excuse me, that you were saying, or that guy was saying about people going back and forth in relationships, like, um, the man ghosting them and then coming back. They were doing that. Okay, so one thing I want to say about that, yeah, it is individual. It is an individual choice to take somebody back if they've done you wrong or what have you, depending on whatever circumstances you're dealing with. But no one, whether it be male or female, want to be a doormat. You know what I'm saying? In a relationship. So basically, I would say not treat others as you had them treat you. Ask them how they want to be treated. And you study
Mm.
that and make sure you don't go up beyond the boundaries of what they expect for you to do or to treat them. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, yeah. So that's what I would say.
I like
Did I
it.
get any of it? Yeah,
No, you did. You nailed it all. I
Oh, I'm
I
sorry. And I
think
want to say
when
one more thing. Mr. Kim, I
go
want to
ahead.
say one more thing before I forget. Another thing is stop going into relationships thinking that it's supposed to be a perfect thing. You know, what's happening is two people are trying to merge in one as one.
Mhm.
That's already complicated enough. Two people, imagine two people trying to merge as one. That's what a strong relationship is. You know how the preachers say when they marry you, you become as one. If you live long enough with that person, you do become that one person. You know, you could become that because you know what they like, you know what they don't, and vice versa. You know how to respect their boundaries. So, in other words, you're becoming one and learning how to cohabitate with one another. That's what it's all about, right?
So
So,
do you cohabitate? Okay, so you said becoming one, but we
mhm.
living in a culture where we got the modern women, aka hyenas, women that feel that they don't need men. They don't even need men outside of procreation. Once they procreate, they go on about their business and put their ass on child support. So when you're speaking to a generation of women that feel like they don't even need men, what do you say to the women that you're speaking of when you say when you join and conjoin with a man that you become one? I'm going, okay, so just keep that in mind, but I'm going to add an addendum
Mhm.
question to that from my personal experience or my
Mhm.
personal gratification. Do you really seek to become one, or do you bring each individual or person to the relationship and then make compromises in order to work? Because I'm going to be honest, at this age and at this juncture of life, I don't know if I can get with someone, and I don't know what that means to become one.
Okay.
I know what to
Okay.
bring me to the table, but I don't
Mhm.
know what that requires for me and you to become one person.
Well, what it basically is okay. Let's see how I can break this down because there's two things. I got two thoughts in my head, and and one was for first,
And
but I'm
say
gonna take
them
the
both.
last. I'm gonna say the last one first. The last one. How do you become one? It's not that you're gonna change your identity and he's gonna change his identity. It's not that, and that it's never like that. It's figuring out ways to mesh the both personalities, both gifts together, where you can build as a union. right? That's what it's all about. You understand that? Do that make sense? It's
Yes, it
not
makes a lot
changing.
of sense.
It's not change. And see,
Hmm.
that's what people do when they go in a relationship. If they're gonna change somebody to be what they want them to be, so they lie to them, and they try to make the man, and the woman try to make the man, and the man try to make the woman. But you don't do that. You come in a relationship respecting one another, being honest with one another about what your expectations are. What are your deal breakers? Off the
From the
rip, from the
off the rip,
beginning.
that part.
and
Yes.
and you do your homework. Just like you be
Mm,
going for shopping for clothes and coupons and sales and all that stuff. Just like men be going shopping to see how many mileages this car get good mileage. Shop for that person. Take your time. And if they have most of the qualities that you want, then that's when it's time to sit down with them. You both sit down, talk about what y'all looking for in this relationship, and then start from there. Baby steps. And if in a relationship something offends you while you're trying to merge to be that one person, stop. Speak about it.
mhm,
Don't go to bed mad. Talk about it. But timing is
mhm.
everything when you're going to be speaking about an issue that's uncomfortable, right? So you have to be uncomfortable in relationships in order to become comfortable.
Say that again.
You have to be uncomfortable in relationships in order to become comfortable. Think about it.
Mm,
When two people together and they first meet each other or they've been dating for a few months or so, they may spend the night with one another and all that stuff. You know how we do in relationships, right, ladies and gentlemen? One, the
mhm,
female may go to the bathroom with the door closed, but once she get
mm,
comfortable with the man, the door wide open. You see,
mhm.
it's the same thing. You have to be uncomfortable first in order to become comfortable. You see? All right.
Miss Yo, do you believe that in the times that we're living in, that that's something that people will be able to embrace? Speaking on, and let me just elaborate for a hot second on
Mhm.
the question. Speaking on people being uncomfortable, how many people do you know at this point in time that are willing to actually be uncomfortable, much less make sacrifices or adjustments to be uncomfortable in order to propel and to solidify a relationship?
Think about this. Some people confuse being uncomfortable with being vulnerable. They're the same thing. When two people are in a
Ex-
relationship, they are vulnerable. That's a sense of being uncomfortable, especially if the first time you've been with someone. That's pretty vulnerable. And if you can do that, then it could and later on in relationship, it's no reason why you can't make it through a relationship because you've already experienced how to be vulnerable and uncomfortable when you're intimate with that person for the first time or however many times you're with that person. So you
Mhm.
see what I'm doing? That makes sense? Any sense at all?
Yes.
Okay. And let's go back to these women, all these different types of groups of women that you named. I was talking about being that woman that's a solid person, the foundation. And then they got all these different types of women that they calling their names. I'm not sure of all the names that you just named. What you call those different women?
Modern women, hyenas. That's just a couple of the terms that I
Yes,
found through the YouTube streets of the social media streets that are being used for women that are uncompromising, women that don't feel that they need a man in
right.
order
Get it,
to
got
have
it.
a family.
Get it, got it. Well, now let me break this down. Okay, all of those names that they named, guess where all the women came from? They came from the very first modern woman. So I don't care what labels they put on stuff, they still have it in their DNA. They came from that rooted woman, that virtuous woman. They came from them. Even though it's generations later, don't forget it's still in that bloodline of generations. It's in you. That's something that they want to do. And it's not, and I'm not saying what they choose to do or how they choose to live their life is right, nor is it wrong. That's okay with them. That might be nice for them. But to each his own. But at some point, you have to come back to the core, and you will come back to the core. You're going to come back
Yes.
to your root because there's nowhere else for you to go, because it's in your DNA, whether you like it or not. And at some point in your life, the spirit inside of you, the God in you, the ancestors in you, it's you're going to call upon it, because whatever you're doing in your life, it's going to bring you back full circle. And that's when you can sit back and say, mm-hmm, I'm waiting for the right person. I'm doing the work on myself. Just all that stuff that you're saying, all these different other label women that they call it, they're doing the same thing at some age or some point in their life. They're gonna come back to that. Guarantee it. Ain't nowhere else
I
for them to
guarantee
go.
it. That's right. That's
It's
right.
like
Full
like old people,
circle.
old people said. My people used to say you can't beat the blood out of them. If you got a child and they showing off and they may be acting crazy and all that stuff, think about the parents and what they did when they were children. They act just like your daddy. You act just like your mama. What you gonna do? You can't beat the blood out of them. It's in them.
Mhm. It's
You
in
you
them.
know what I'm saying? Same with
Yeah,
these
I do.
relationships and that stuff. So you're not going. And I'm gonna tell you something else. Hold up. I gotta say this and then I'm gonna get off here. I ain't
Come
gonna mess
on
with you.
now. Come on.
We keep on talking about um I don't the women is hollering they don't want a man, and they don't define me, all of that. Yeah, don't nobody supposed to define you. Man, woman, dog, cat, whatever your thing is. Don't nobody supposed to do none of that. You are your own individual person, your own being, right? And you're to live life in the way that you deem fit for your life, right? So, but it's mighty funny to me that these women that say all this stuff, they're attracted to men and a man in some way, whether they want to admit it or not. And that's just like because of our makeup, the scent of a woman. Men are attracted to you. The man that you, all the men that you have been with, or whoever you've ever been with, they were attracted to your scent, not your perfume. Just like the animals when it's time to go and eat, those animals are attracted to a certain type of animal. It could be all of them animals, but there's one specific one. It'd be a whole bunch of cows, but they got to have that one cow. It could be a whole bunch of dogs in a thing with a male dog, but he got to have that one. And you
Them
mean to tell me
lions and them
all of
lionesses
that?
is real. I see
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
so the women to say they don't want a man and whatever, you may have a different way that you want to live your life. That's fine. I'm not knocking none of that stuff. That's what you do. That's what you do. But regardless, you're not going to be able to knock off that chemistry. It's going to be chemistry between you and the opposite sex. It's going to be, unless you can't smell no more. Unless listen, that's our makeup. That's simply our makeup.
Yeah,
So
but
fear not. Mhm.
the issue that I have that I've seen and observed is that the chemistry is enough for them to get together to procreate.
Yes. Yeah. But see how
But
strong that is? That's strong
it
though.
is. However, I will say also that the same chemistry and the strength that it requires for them to get together to procreate, it seems that there's a spirit or a tendency for them to separate themselves once that child is what's the outcome of their procreation
Yeah.
manifests. Now all of a
Hmm.
sudden they got jobs, they so now they're making incomes to where they don't need a man to provide, they don't need a
Hmm.
head until of course maybe they become older or
Hmm.
something happens paramount in their life to where there's an epiphany where it's like, okay, now I see the light, but maybe the ship has sailed.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, what happens is life get in the way. They lose track of what's important. They make everything else priority later on in their relationships. That's what happened. Yeah, they can get together to make the baby, of course. Yeah, and that's magical. That's beautiful. That's God, because you're making another life. That's a legacy. That's all of these things, right? Everybody happy when the baby little bitty, itsy bitty, little wine, but when it start pulling into shelves and shit like that and pulling all on things, it's more of a problem. The baby get more busier. Then, like you said, the male attention or the woman attention, they go somewhere else because they're focused on something. They focus on how to make money. Life gets in the way. right?
Mhm.
And it's so what I'm saying is, what's worth having is worth working for or working
Yeah.
towards. And if you have someone that don't feel like what's going on is worth working towards, because it's for them, if they might have lost interest in some way. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they've lost interest.
And I will go to even solidify more what you're saying to make it relatable to say, okay, so if a, and I'm speaking because the topic is the women and the men
Yeah.
that ghost them to feel like they can come back without, you know what I'm saying, without with impunity and not have to, they can just kind of use them as a revolving door, right?
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, okay, the point that I want to make in addition to you is if you can go out there and you can sacrifice for anything else that you want, whether it's a job, a career, material possessions, you got to
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice vacation in order to go on trips.
Yeah.
There's always something you got to give in order to get. Then what
Mm-hmm.
makes you think that a relationship would be any different?
See, because people don't think it all the way through. That's why I was saying in the
Right.
beginning of this is that you have to sit down and have a conversation and be real, not superficials. Put everything on the table, the male and the female. What you expect in a relationship. How are we going to do this? Where we going to live? I mean, you just got to talk about everything, right? Everything that's important to you, both people. And then you can come up and make a decision as to whether you want to pursue this relationship. That's before any sex, anything. That's before dessert. See, and what we do now is we eat dessert before we eat the meal. No, it has to be reversed. You need to get the meal first and then eat the dessert. Put everything on the table.
Let me ask you this.
Hmm.
So, if the conversation doesn't flow or there may be non negotiables during that conversation,
Hmm.
what is your opinion on what should be the walkaway point or the breaking point? Should there be one? Should you be open and give it more time, and have further conversations before you just make your own conclusion that, okay, yeah, well, you want kids, I don't want kids. That's a non negotiable. I'm ready to
Yeah.
bounce. What do you
Hmm.
say to that?
Take them, take them for what they say the first time. If
Okay.
no need in trying to make anything, don't negotiate anything with it. If the person says one of your things that you will not tolerate is say if the woman said, well, I want to have one child, and the man said he want to have two, right? He should They should listen to one another because that's what they mean. And I don't care if later on in a relationship they may change their mind or whatever. That will be a plus for that person that want to have more children. But keep it in your mind that they said emphatically they do not want any more children. So if that's okay with you, then go ahead and go with that relationship, but don't expect them to change it. Do you see what I'm saying? The problem comes when somebody tell you they're not going to do something in a relationship. You say, "Well, okay, yeah, I bet I can make them do it," and think later on they're going to. That's where problems
And
come.
they not.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes. And
Hmm.
if it's really a non-negotiable for you, and it's really important for you to have more than one child or whatever, then that's not the man for you. Someone else is out there, right? But just don't think that you're going to change them because that's where the problem lies. You know?
That's where the problem
Yeah,
lies. Thinking
yeah.
you can
Being
control
totally
and change
honest.
people's mind when
Yeah.
they live their whole lives, and then you got with them as an adult thinking that you can modify and change their mind into
Hmm.
something that's totally different than what they have specifically communicated to you, that this is
Yeah.
what I believe, this is what I want, this is where I'm at.
It's like somebody saying, in a relationship, say I like tomatoes, and the other person will make you eat tomatoes knowing that you don't like it. Yeah, you gonna like it. Just take another little spoon. Just try it for me. Just keep pushing it down your throat. No means no. I don't like tomatoes. So in a relationship, when somebody say I don't want more children, don't think you're gonna change them. They don't want more children. If it changes, it's a plus for you. But if not, you know, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's how you do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Well,
relationships are
you.
not complicated though, Mr. Kimi. Basically, people make them complicated. People make
Mhm.
relationships complicated. It don't have to be complicated. Communication is the key, and knowing the time to have the conversations, knowing when to communicate something, right, to your partner. Timing
Mm.
and communication, that builds relationships, and being 100% totally honest about how you feel, right?
No matter what the outcome or the
Yeah.
result may be.
And there's ways to tell people how you feel. You don't tell a person you made me feel like shit last night because so and so. You know, it's ways to communicate, and as long as you with that partner, you'll understand which way you'll be able to communicate with them. And when the time is right to speak about some type of topic or a big issue that you might have, and it's also times to leave those topics alone after you said what you said and mean what you said. They heard you. You had a conversation. Don't revisit that same conversation again. It's no need to. It's no
Right.
need to. Keep it
Yes.
moving. There you go.
Especially with the agenda that you want to change that, or you might want to change that person's mind. So you want
Yes.
to revisit that conversation in order to manipulate or sway their belief in what they've said to you already.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to make more problems. Have you had a conversation? Y'all work things out. Don't revisit it. Man cheat on you. You take them back, and y'all had all this conversation. Not 10 years later, ain't no use you bring it back. Well, you remember in 1954 when you cheated over me, and so that's ignorant. That's not necessary. That's the past. We've moved forward. We'll continue to build. I'm trusting you. I've let that go. You see what I'm saying? I have forgiven you for your transgressions. And we're going to move forward in this relationship as long as they continue to respect you and don't do that again. You see what I'm saying?
Fact,
Don't keep bringing it back up. Women have a problem doing that all the time. We always bringing up old stuff that the men done did. We always throwing stuff, old arguments back up in their face. And that's not a good idea. Yeah.
and I'm telling you, men will run for the border if they keep
Yeah.
hearing the same old song and dancing and getting
Hmm.
no type of different resolution. Or I mean, just it's not. You're right. It's not something you want to do. What's
Yeah.
dead is dead.
It's dead. It's dead.
Let's be solution oriented. Let's see where we can go from here and build.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And always keep your relationship. Think about this in your relationship. One of y'all gonna be standing over the coffin on the other one eventually.
Mhm.
Eventually.
Say
So
it again.
what in relationships, if you got a relationship, somebody's gonna be standing over top of somebody in a coffin, right?
Mhm.
So you want to be able to think about treating each other lovingly and nice the whole journey of your relationships and stuff, because in the end, that may be the person that's going to have to bury you, right? That's going to maybe the person that's going to have to bury you. So you know what I'm saying? So that is your other half, because that person will be left here taking care of all the other stuff that y'all had, all the stuff that y'all don't build together. So that's your partner, right? So yeah, you want to love that person. You want to love each other and treat each other with kindness and love. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's your best friend for real. That should be your friend. Yeah, and it's
Absolutely.
possible. And don't think. And I get tired of people thinking that relationships are dead. They just not telling y'all this on this thing. You got a whole lot of older people or people that's been in a relationship for a long period of time. It's just not advertised. And so chivalry is not dead. Okay,
Yes.
so
Come
forget
on
about
now.
that. I'm here to tell you,
Yes. I'm
it's
glad
it's
you
possible.
said that.
Love is in the
Yes.
air for everyone if you choose it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it
Now,
is. It is
there you go.
what is magnified through the media and through the mainstream of
Hmm.
social media, where individuality, separatism, the fact that we were speaking of women feeling like they don't need men signing off on women saying, you know what, I don't want no parts because we're
Yeah.
not seeing eye to eye on things. But it does
Yeah.
not mean that that is collectively what's true. That is what's
Yeah.
being promoted.
And if you think about it, here's a quick question. Here's a quick question. And I'm definitely gonna go on this one. Has the world population shrunk yet? It continues to grow, don't it? So somebody like somebody, shit, they be telling somebody like somebody. Okay? I'm just saying.
That's a
we
mic drop.
now, how about that? So don't believe the hype.
That's a
That's what I'm
mic
saying. Don't believe the hype.
drop.
Don't
Okay.
believe the hype.
Well,
Yeah.
I that
Okay.
listen, I ain't got nothing to add to that, but mic drop.
Voila.
That's
Okay.
it. Well, I
All right.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Anytime, sis. Anytime. You know it. Anytime. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed.
Big
Well, I
mess.
tell you, this when it came, I knew if Laverne showed up, it was gonna be some balance brought to this. But when I saw that clip, I was like, these are the things that go viral. These are the things that are promoted. These are the
Yeah.
the clips that are and once you propel this information, you circulate it out and
Mhm.
you reach millions and millions of people, and these are the topics and these are the sound bites that go viral, then it's
Yeah.
like, where does the hope and the real information get
Yeah.
to circulate and sink in to where, and that just gives me the notion and kind of cements it for me that,
Mhm.
guess what, they're trying to push a narrative
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
tough,
Yeah.
but what's the truth? But what's the truth on the matter?
Mhm. You see the truth all around you. Men still flirt with women. Women still flirt with men. Women still dress. They say they're dressing for themselves, but most women know when you put on clothes, you're putting on clothes to have someone compliment you. You're not just putting on clothes for yourself. I have heard people, plenty of women say, "No, when I get dressed up, and I'm not dressing up for no man. I'm not dressing for no. I dress up because I like to dress up." You may like to dress up, but you would like for someone to say, "Your hair look nice. Your shoes look nice. Oh wow, that perfume." You still want compliments. You still want them. Period.
Yeah.
You can talk it to the
And you
mom.
know what you're capable of looking like and
Yeah,
appearing as. You know how you can fix your hair. Come on now, how many
yeah.
pedicures and manicures do we need to go out and get the same results if we're just doing it for ourselves? So you
Right, and that's
absolutely correct on that.
and that's where I was saying about being honest in relationships.
Mhm.
That's where the honesty start. It starts with self first. You have to love
Mhm.
yourself first. Love yourself first. You don't
That's
always
key.
you don't have to be dressed up to meet the man of your dreams or the man that you're gonna of your that you might wind up marrying or falling in love with. You don't have to be dressed up. I told you, just like the animals, the attraction is there. The right person for you is out there. It is. And you just too some of us are too what you call it? Just high and mighty, like nose in the air and ain't paying attention to your surroundings and
Bougie,
yeah, paying attention to you and be you
ornery,
okay. Or and another
self-absorbed.
wanting a perfect man or a perfect woman is nothing perfect about none of us at
None
all.
of us.
None of
That's
us at
it.
all.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yes,
Oh shucks. I'm just
absolutely.
yeah.
No, you listen, I'm not interrupting you. I'm just ad-libbing. Cause you right. For real, you got a cheering section in me.
Yeah.
Listen, Laverne, when it comes to relationships, we look for those that have done it and that are doing it successfully, that have experience in it. And that's where
Hmm.
we get the value, and I remember being a kid where in my neighborhood, no matter where you looked around, what neighbor you looked at, to the left, to the right, across the street, across the
Yes.
alley, in the back of
Uh,
you, most people had two-parent households, or two, a
yeah.
man and a woman conjoined together. And it's like, now it's not as prevalent as it should be. But I
Mhm.
think a lot of that is the deception of what's being promoted and the things that are being put on the forefront in social media, in media, in the statistics, in the information that is being regurgitated over and over and over and over, like it's such a far-fetched notion that
Yeah,
families in the Black community or in our community can't be successful and follow the majority in other cultures.
right. And Mr. Kima, even back in the day when there were happened to be couples that you would see that were not married, they were living together. They was what they call a common law. Common law.
Common law.
There's
Hmm.
even to this day, there's so many young people that are living with one another in common law relationships without the paper, but it's still the same thing. So
Yep.
I'm just saying, and I know people, it's a whole lot of things about the marriage and what they've been doing and all this kind of stuff now. But even if you're too, even if you don't have the paper, get a private contract, like I said before, between the two of you in case something happens to cover you and your family, right? But
Hmm.
still, I'm just saying, it's still prevalent today. There are a lot of young men and women living together right now. Been living together for months, some years together, have a whole family, and they're just not married with the ring and all of that stuff. So I'm just saying they're lying when it tells you that black love is not the thing. It's the shiggity, and you can see it all around you. Yeah,
Amen.
yeah. But
Amen.
anyway,
Amen.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Speaking
yeah,
of relationships, we got Rare Money in the building, and he sent a
yes.
super chat. God bless you. Thank you so
Love
much for the support. He says, "Salute, Mr. Kimmy and ladies, just stopping by on the way in. Much love. We appreciate you so much."
yeah.
And just really quickly, we got changes good for the Cash App. You are definitely appreciated, and thank you so much for the support to the channel. Listen, we're not going to draw this out and make this no
No.
long, drawn out situation or conversation. You dropped a lot of gems. There was a lot of great questions and insight that was brought to the conversation. And that's pretty much the whole objective of the live, because you can
Yeah.
look at anything from so many different vantage points and
Mhm.
perspectives. But at the end of the day, what can we take from the conversation that'll be healing and food for thought in order to
Mhm.
propel us in the right direction so we can heal from the inside out from an individualistic standpoint, so we can even get to the point where we can conjoin with somebody else and be able to do that on a collective level.
Yes, and I want to say one more thing, Mr. Kimmy. I heard somebody was saying if a person comes from like a broken home, some I think it was Mr. Oakes had a comment or something that you read out about coming from a broken home. How can a person like love or something? I forgot exactly what it was, but anyway, it was coming from a broken home, and that's one of the reasons why some of the people are not learning how to love or whatever. Or I guess that's what he was saying. I may be wrong, but if that is the
He
case,
said, basically talk about the trauma.
oh,
And I know he spoke on, because I said something about the
oh
dysfunction of the
yes.
family, and
Right. He
that
said
was
you're
his
gonna
last comment.
right,
Hmm.
that's right. That's what I want to speak about. Yes, most of the time we people come from dysfunctional families. Yes, they grow up to be adults that become that are dysfunctional. But never fear with that either, because as they mature and as they go through life, their body chemistry changes. They will interact with different people. Maybe an angel come to their life that they may meet on a job, or somewhere they may meet somebody else. They'll be able to mentor to them that could possibly change their life. So it's still hope, and also the inner spirit of that person as they are growing up. Even though they were born or came into a dysfunctional, raised in a dysfunctional environment, um, their times change, things change. Things are triggered in people as they grow older and mature, right? But the main
Yes.
thing to remember is even during that dysfunctional time as they were younger and growing up, God is still in them. The Your GPS is still in you. The right and the wrong is still in you, regardless of what your outside environment is. So pay attention to your spirit, your inner man. That's how you heal from the inside out. It tells you which
Yes,
way to go. It tells you
yes.
which way to walk. It tells you how to talk. It tells you when it's time to be quiet. You understand? That's why it's a
And
time.
rely on your descendants, rely, because that is who God speaking through your DNA, from your descendants, from your
It's in you.
lineage, is in you.
It's in you.
And it's
In
going to
you.
speak to you, and it's going to resonate, and it's going to poke its head up when it's necessary.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
about us
Mhm.
listening and being aware of it when it does speak.
Yes. Yes. And you see all these little young smart children. All of these children, households are not pleasant. But there are a lot of intelligent little young children walking around here. Pay attention to them children. Some of them are
I
more in
got
tune with
one of them.
themselves. Yeah, and me too. I got two and grown, you know. But I'm blessed, right? Pay attention. They can tell you
I
some
got two
things.
of them, but I got one of them that's a minor child that is just,
Yeah.
I've had, and I mean to cut you off,
No,
Laverne, but I
no,
have
that's
to
okay.
say that it
Mm-hmm.
has been so many teachable moments, because when you have children that have totally different personalities,
Mm-hmm.
and then there is an age variance between the two. So
Yes.
with my inexperience here, I am thinking, oh, I got this one nailed. I done already did this. I done already
Yeah.
raised this
Right.
one, right? And then that
Mm.
baby
Yeah.
comes along, and it's like, whoa, this is like starting all,
Yes.
I mean, just relearning a whole new way
Mm-hmm.
of, like it's your first rodeo.
Yeah, because you got two individual beings with different trains of thought. They got different thought processes. And even though they came from their mom and dad, they still individuals. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yeah, and,
Yes.
and for me, I have the boy and the girl 4 years apart. You can't treat one child like the other. That's what I'm saying as far as talking about that dysfunctional household. Even though you may have dysfunctional children coming up in a dysfunctional household, somebody is gonna get it right, right? Somebody gonna get it right as they mature, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So there you go. But I'm gonna get off here
There
now,
you
Mr. Kim,
go.
because we're gonna go on and on, and
I know.
it's
But
almost
I
past the
truly
bedtime.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
You give, as always, you give a total balance to the conversation, enlightenment, dropping gems. So for
Well, thank you.
those, I think mostly everybody that's typed in the chat, but for those maybe catching the replay or coming in and watching from the bushes, if you haven't just subscribed to Miss Your Thoughts, please do so. Could I have one of my mods just drop her link to her channel and in the chat? And I'm gonna
Surely.
tell you, you won't be disappointed. She talks about gardening, she talks about relationships, marriages, and she speaks from personal experience from all of those different areas of conversation. So I've been
Thank you,
privileged
God.
and
Thank you,
blessed to
Shirley.
have her in my life on a personal level, as
Yeah,
well
me
as
too.
a professional level. And I'm blessed. So with that being
Cut
said,
it
thank
out,
you for
Shirley.
your time. I know it's late. I know
I
it's
mean,
late. I
anytime.
ain't told no lies. Don't start with me, Laverne.
Anytime, Shirley. I don't mind coming up
All
here
right,
talking.
baby.
All right, you have a good
Take
night. I'll
care.
talk to y'all
All
later.
right.
Thanks, chat. Bye
You
bye.
too. All right.
Hit me,
Love you.
Shirley.
Okay. I got you. So thank you so much for her being a part of the conversation, and definitely shedding some of her personal experience and knowledge and wisdom to us in this whole thing, in this, and because I'm telling you, it is real easy for conversations to go left or to go right, especially when you're speaking in regards to relationships. People get super sensitive nowadays, but at the same time, I find so much value in the statement that she stated on more than one occasion during this live, that honesty. just absolutely reverberating no matter who you're having a conversation with, and no matter what nature of the conversation is being had, that there is value and honesty, transparency, and being upfront, whether it's something that you feel that person wants to hear or not, right? And so I definitely, again, I pay attention. I think sometimes I'm hypersensitive to certain things, and that can get me in trouble, but it's blessed me more than it's cursed me, right? And so with that, I do pay attention to pretty much everything, to all the dynamics. I'm really sensitive on energy, and then even more sensitive when it comes to energy, those that are connected to me. I definitely find value in, and I care. I care at the end of the day. Sometimes it's gotten me in trouble, but for the most part, again, it's blessed me more than it's hurt me, to definitely be more aware and considerate of those that are connected to me, because they are connected to me for a specific reason, right? And I truly believe that in most cases than not, that God has connected us in some form of fashion. And I found, if nothing else, that there's value in that and in that alone. And that is the leading facilitator of where this relationship or this interaction may go, how far it may go. And then I'll take it for face value at that point. So, with that being said, y'all, I know it's getting late. I appreciate y'all time. We've been on here about an hour and a half, but there was this one little video that I just thought was absolutely adorable. I hope I don't get copyrighted for it, but if there's an issue with it, I'll delete it out. But I definitely wanted to conclude it, and I thought it was a cute little clip to go out with. So I appreciate everybody for coming through, for everybody that was in the chat, all of the donations and the contributions and the support to the channel. I appreciate y'all. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming through. And thank you to my Laverne for definitely coming onto the panel and giving her contribution to the channel as well. And with that being said, we just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show this and we gonna bow out gracefully, right? So peace. Let's go. Hold on a second.
About to go to bed. Won't catch me in these streets without no sleep. Good night.
One more again.
I'm about to go to bed. Won't catch me in these streets without no sleep. Good night.
Peace.